Career, 52 Practical Answers to Your Questions. I'm Erin Wolfer, and I own and operate Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf, where I help professionals feel more confident and prepared throughout their job search. I help folks with resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, mock interviews, personal and professional websites and portfolios, just really anything job search related. But each week in this podcast, I answer one question from the public. And this week's question is, what are some job search tips for liberal arts and science majors? And I'm really excited today. We have David Gaston with us. He's actually my former supervisor. We've known each other for about 15 years, and he has far more experience than those 15 years in career services. So I'm going to go ahead and let David introduce himself because his title and department are very long, and I will certainly mess them up. So David, go ahead.
Hi there, David Gaston, Assistant Vice Provost for Academic Success. I work with the Career and Experiential Learning teams at the University of Kansas. Came to KU 17 years ago to be the director of the Career Center. And then I guess overall I've got about 25 years of professional experience in career services and in education.
Yeah, so David definitely knows a lot about the liberal arts and science major, and he's been in career services for quite a while. And we worked together at the University Career Center for those 13 years. So again, I'm so excited to have you here. So let's go ahead and get started with answering this question. So first, just David, what do you think are some of the main benefits of having a liberal arts and sciences degree?
Well, in our professional industries out there, regardless of which one it is, it's really about trying to solve problems and, add value to your organization, be that in a profit, driven organization or a nonprofit organization. And with your liberal arts degree, really you're taught how to, take a lot of data and analyze it and figure out, what does it mean and how can we leverage that information or that data to solve problems or make cases or, figure things out that hopefully will make things better for you and your organization. And so I think that's the biggest piece of it. And what I'm going to kind of anticipate the next question. So what it doesn't do necessarily is directly, kind of groove you into a professional job. So I think as you're going through your undergraduate experience, what you're going to want to do is find ways to be able to leverage what you're doing in your class and apply it directly in practical applications, be that through undergraduate research or an internship or a part-time job, so that then you can document to employers that, hey, I've got this great education, but I can also apply it in ways that can add value to your bottom line.
Absolutely. And, I know something that you and I talked a lot about when we worked together was sort of the depth and breadth that you acquire
Mhm.
through your academic curriculum. Would you care to elaborate on
Mhm.
that a bit?
Yeah, there's this concept called the T-shaped professional. And typically, when you're going through your education or as you're, into your professional position, you need to kind of take a self-assessment. And typically, the breadth of that T is kind of just your ability to communicate with lots of different people. Um, because different industries have different kind of buzzwords and ways of talking about things. What you want to do, and liberal arts students do a great job of this, is being able to communicate with different people from many different disciplines, but from many different walks of life as well. And so that's something that liberal arts are really strong in. The other piece is kind of that vertical part of the T, which is really the discipline knowledge. It's the depth of knowledge that you're gonna get. And so it may be a foreign language or maybe something in the sciences or biology that you're going to get some depth of knowledge in. So what you want to do is have both breadth and depth to be able to be, a valuable professional. And so if you're not getting a bunch of depth in a particular industry that's specific, then you're going to want to kind of supplement, like I said, with some of those experiential learning or part-time job types of opportunities so that you can kind of demonstrate that depth. Because one of the things that happens is recruiters are typically pretty young and they don't necessarily going to have a big understanding of how things connect. So you need to make it very clear to them, and they need to see that the connection that you have to the adding value to that company is very easy, and that you do that for them because you don't want them to have to make that connection because they won't.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you kind of just did a really nice segue there to my next follow-up question. So that was perfect. So what are some tips that you have for demonstrating that value? So, some things that I'm thinking of right now are, like your action verb statements on your resume, how they don't just demonstrate your duties and responsibilities, but they demonstrate the impact that you've had on organizations because of your actions. And, I'm also thinking about the stories that you might tell in an interview using the STAR method to really, again, demonstrate that you have those skills. So would you care to elaborate on anything related to that?
Yeah, I think most anybody who's been through college has taken an English course, right? The freshman comp or whatever.
Right.
And hopefully we've all learned how to write, let's say a 3 or 4 point essay, right? So so what I do is I kind of take that concept and say, okay, you're getting ready for a job search or you're getting ready to apply for a job. So let's take a look and do our research out there. What are they looking for? What do I have? Make those connections, this, that, and other, and come up with 3 or 4 things that that they want to know about you, and that put you in the right frame to be a successful candidate, right? So if they're looking for leadership skills or organizational skills, let's just take those two for example. What you're going to want to do is essentially give little anecdotes or stories using the STAR method, like you mentioned. And I don't know if we want to get into depth on that right now, but essentially you're developing these little stories that prove your point, right?
Right.
And so what you're going to want to do is when you're getting in your mind what you want to communicate as far as your value, let's say in an interview or a cover letter, you're going to kind of really tell those stories so that they are interested and you're making those connections for them. So, and then of course you'll have your intro and your conclusion depending on your situation, just to reiterate the fact, in the conclusion that, hey, you will add value to that employer if they decide to hire you.
Definitely. And I think, value there, I think is the key word there. And, just to clarify for folks who may not know, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So basically through those stories that David was just talking about, you want to state, the situation you were in, the tasks you were assigned, the actions you took to kind of accomplish those tasks, and then the result. And we hope that that result's positive. And if it's not, what did you learn from it then? So that just kind of gives a little bit more background on the STAR method. So, I think those are really great tips for, job seekers who have a liberal arts and science major, whether they are, students looking for their first job out of college, or, maybe even it's a professional who's been out in the field for, a few years, but maybe is either looking to transition to a different industry or, even like move up in an organization or something like that. So it sounds like really, looking at those transferable skills that you have and aligning those with your experiences to demonstrate that value and those results.
Yep.
So,
And the other good thing, real quick, just to add on, is that you want to have this, you don't want this to be the focus of your life, but you want to make sure that you keep this in mind all the time, and not necessarily just when a career decision is right in front of you. Because if you're always kind of thinking, kind of in the back of your mind, even if you're happy with your job and all that kind of good stuff, you're going to want to kind of think through these things, because if you don't, you may lose some really valuable things that could, really illustrate how you can add value to an organization or something like that. So develop this kind of career forward mindset, and I think that's going to benefit you when it does come time to, make these transitions.
Definitely. And I think also to that point is, I mean, sometimes you may not be looking for a new opportunity, but one might show up, through your network or through
Hmm.
your organization or something like that. So just always being ready and prepared, is definitely important, even if you aren't actively seeking a new position. So we're going to transition here the conversation just a bit to the employers. But before we do that, any other kind of final tips for the job seeker?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just kind of keep this in mind. Try to do your research. You know, have a plan, and then work the plan. I think that's kind of the main things to kind of keep in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, one thing that I remember, and it's been a couple years since I've worked at the Career Center, but and this may have shifted. So please let me know if it has. But I remember getting discouraged a lot of times when I was looking at job postings, or we would have folks sign up for the career fair, and they would specifically ask for a business major. And they wouldn't have those liberal arts and sciences majors listed as people that they were seeking. So
Mhm.
do you have any recommendations to the employers who are doing the hiring as far as why they should consider liberal arts and
Mhm.
science majors?
Well, typically my spiel to employers in response to that kind of question or that topic is this. One, the majority, and this is specific to KU, but it can be, pretty generalizable too.
Mhm.
The majority of students at KU are liberal arts and sciences students. And so if you are not considering the largest population at KU, then you're considering a large number of not considering a large number of the students that are the cream of the crop, right? That could provide some diversity and some different perspectives as it relates to how you do your business. And then, diversity is such an important part of being successful in a nonprofit or a profit type organization. So you're kind of pigeonholing yourself, and I think that's a short term type of thought. So what we try to do is encourage employers to look at skill sets of what they need, not necessarily the major. And we
Sure.
talk about that with students as well. It's about the skills. Do you have the skills to be able to perform this job effectively? If you do, then you need to make that case, regardless of what they're asking for. But
Right.
um, that's the thing. It's all about skills, and I think sometimes we're short-sighted and we're trying to find shortcuts to be able to fill positions and get to outcomes, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it gets in your way of being able to be most successful.
Right, definitely. And I mean, something else that I just remembered is, when we were on search committees together in the past, I remember talking a lot about potential also,
Yeah,
and passion. And sometimes there are people who, don't 100% meet the qualifications that you're seeking, but are they passionate? Are they trainable? Trainable was
right.
one thing that we talked about a lot. So, I think that's something else that a lot of times employers may not think about. They just
Hmm.
want to kind of check the boxes of those qualifications, but, trying to ask questions and, have a job search that allows people to demonstrate their passion and, their willingness to learn and gain those skills necessary
Yeah.
to be, a really great employee.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you need to have the baseline skills necessary to be
Right.
successful. But hey, if it comes down to two or three people, I'm going to want the person who really wants to be here, right? And
Right.
who really is committed to what we're trying to do, because that'll go a long way, even if they're a little bit short as far as the knowledge or experience within the field or something like that. If they are committed and they really want to be there, then I know they're going to work hard, and I can kind of guide them in the direction of being successful, certainly. So that's a great point,
Yeah.
Erin.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, David. This has been, great information for, I mean, not only liberal arts majors, but, really anyone out there.
Right.
There are a lot of folks, especially now who are kind of reevaluating their situation and maybe are wanting to transition completely to a different industry field or job. And so I definitely think that these tips, apply to those situations as well. So if anyone out there is a student at the University of Kansas or an alum, definitely check out the University Career Center. They're, a valuable resource, and I mean, nearly all of their services are 100% free. And so, I strongly recommend that you take advantage of that. Other folks out there, if you need assistance, you can always check out me at my websites, careeradvantageresumes.com and careeradvantagegolf.com. I also have social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It's at Career Advantage Resumes, and Twitter, it's at Advantage Career. So thanks again, David, and thanks everyone who joined us today. Hopefully you got some valuable information out of that, and hopefully we see you next week. Thanks so much.